Hey, all you happy lost souls. How y'all doing? Before I get started with the video, this is just to clarify. There are 4 videos up currently explaining the Sapphire contest. You have to comment on one of those 4 videos that I previously posted in the last month and be subscribed to be entered for Saturday, July 8th award video. The drawing video will occur on Saturday evening around 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, probably around 9 o'clock because of work and everything, and personal schedule. If you are not or have not commented on one of those 4 videos and subscribed by Saturday at noon, then you're not eligible. If you're brand new to the channel, some of the other videos might have been a little confusing. I'm not cutting entries off at 500 subscribers. Just had to hit 500 subscribers for the contest to be announced and the winner to be announced and go into effect. So you're on borrowed time essentially, because the prize pool is being picked by comments, and as long as you commented on one of those videos and are subscribed by July 8th at noon 2023, you're good to go. So keep commenting if you're new and you saw the other videos. If this is the first video you found, Happy Lost Souls is just a chill channel started by me, Ron, the creator. It originally started out with music. I write a lot of original music, kind of a little bit Nirvana-ish vibe with a little bit more psychedelic, bluesy, swampy, grungy, folky, with cool lyrics, cool original music. So if you found the channel because you're interested in the artifacts, the stone tool collection, and the gemstones, and the channel is a little bit more than just that. With my music and everything, being an original music artist, I was playing places live for a while, but it's hard to get live shows when you don't do a ton of covers. I will do covers, but only ones that I bring something to the table on. But anyway, I digressed a little bit. The channel has all kinds of neat things: poetry, philosophy-type conversations, discussions on these ancient stone tools and, ancient cultures that predated the Clovis first paradigm. The channel is really into destroying these preset paradigms in archaeology. And if the evidence that I was finding personally didn't contradict the theories put forth and the paradigms put forth, then I wouldn't have an argument. But my argument comes back with evidence. My background is I have a psychology degree, but I was a laureate scholar in both anthropological studies, diplomacy, and archaeology. Actually helped my anthropology teacher with his doctorate. Anthropology, the study of ancient traditions, cultures, languages, is more what I delved into. I did have crash courses in material culture, like how to conduct an archaeological dig, surveying, all of the laws behind it. I also took a crash course in stone tool design, and I had my sciences were all in geology. And our labs were at a place called Valley Green Park, the Wissahickon Creek, which branches off of the Schuylkill before re-entering the Schuylkill, much further away, kind of like a giant U. It cuts through this geological rift, and so does the other creek. Most of the artifacts come from the Neshaminy and the Pennypack. Pennypack, about 75% of the artifacts are from there. I do have some stuff from the Chamonix as well. Pretty much any creek with a Native American place name you will find artifacts in. And people don't realize there were millions and millions and millions and millions of indigenous and different peoples before European contact. These people were killing, fighting, creating cultures, creating art, creating tools, thousands and thousands and thousands of years prior to European contact. I'm a diffusionalist by nature. I do not think oceans were barriers in ancient times. I think they were still highways, but I just think necessity drove those decisions. And I'll get into that a little bit deeper. As to some of my theories about my own collection and the uniqueness of it. As stated before in other videos, I said I only had 1/20th of my stuff showing, and I can't get it all out in one room to display it, but I pulled out a lot of containers of larger artifacts. A lot of people, when they go artifact hunting, they're looking for all the smalls, the cool little points, and the cutters, and the little pendants, and they're thinking small. Sometimes you have to think big, because during the Stone Age, all of your tools were made out of stone. You're talking about hammers, and you could still see the strap mark running around. Look at the size of this thing, this heavy granite type material. Now, these materials are weird because they're paramagnetic. And it seems that there is laminate, titanium, or vanadium running through these materials. This is the black spots that you see. And the staining, and that's why these things are so heavy. You see the back is notched for the strap to come back around. But this giant block was either for crushing, and it's also extremely abrasive, this material. Like a better version of sandpaper. So it could be used for grinding, similar to a pestle, or it could have been used for crushing. There's all kinds of hammer heads. They're both composite, non-composite. A non-composite tool does not have a shaft, so you're literally using the stone itself as the shaft and the tool. So something like this is non-composite, or it could be composite. It could have been tied down, and that bump could have been to adhere the straps to, but I don't see any strap staining. This seems to have been more aerodynamically fit for the hand. It could have been a pestle. It's very squared off on the bottom. At first thought it was just a brick that somebody had cut for a house, but then I realized that this was intentionally cut out to really fit in your hand perfectly. Some kind of hammer, and you can see that the weight is shifted back, giving you leverage. So you get these stone hammers of various sizes, these picks, these hand tools, more of an agricultural type tool like an adze here. Hand axes that are much older, that are fractured in design, percussion, and literally just where there's this one edge, and then just being struck into something much older. Another hand axe where and these are more for wood here. And we'll talk a little bit about material. And material is one of the ways in which we define a culture, a material culture. What materials do they have access to? What were they masters with in crafting, material-wise? And what unique materials do you see? And when you're dating archaeological sites, and you'll hear this word context, and it's huge. Having an artifact is wonderful. Having the physical item is absolutely great. But it doesn't really mean anything unless you could tie it into a story or find efficacy and build patterns in what you're finding, similarities as to where and how they're found and what you're finding and what material is being used. These are all things that we help draw conclusions about, sorting them into categories, who made what. But then we're missing this important question: when? When was this stuff made? How do we know how to date it? You can carbon date a rock, it's going to come back to the age of the earth, a little over 4 billion years old. You can't really carbon date a rock. Now, I am very careful if I find anything organic that I feel like is in context with a find, like this half of a coconut that looks very ancient and it's actually marked inside. I save that. It's organic. I might be able to pay for testing later on. So we have to draw from other sciences, and this is I get a lot of flack online in comments and stuff from this. I do not believe archaeology is a science. I believe it is a philosophy that draws upon other sciences in order to best come up with a conclusion based on the small bits of evidence they find. They're more of a detective. You could draw a theory, but then it has to be backed up by the supporting evidence. And I'll come over to these trays, and when we talk about efficacy, we have entire group of people that was using just soapstone and making, these crazy axes and blades and polishers and projectile points. Some of this stuff you could still see people's fingerprints in because it's such a soft soapstone. So we're possibly looking at fingerprints that are thousands of years old. You can kind of see one in the back of this pointed broadhead. So really what you have to decipher is all these thousands of artifacts that you're finding are spanning across thousands and thousands of years, made by different groups of people. So you're trying to sort them into patterns that are similar so you can kind of get them into their own categories. And then it's, well, how do we determine what age they are? Well, at a true archaeological dig site, and you would take soil samples from directly underneath of an in situ artifact. An in situ artifact means you found it where it originally fell. You found it in layered, intact, in place. The day it fell and was covered up, that's where it laid and was never moved or disturbed. You found it in context, in situ. You would directly take the soil from underneath of that artifact and have it tested. So to see what pollen particles were in there, what different plant species, to get a dating, to get a date, and pull out of that, or get any biological material that you could even carbon date out of that. If you hear anything in the background, I'm sorry, the house is a little bit noisy at the moment, but I don't have a ton of time to film. This is the best time in the day to get it done. So there's a lot of legends in my area, and if you've checked out any of my other videos, the legends of the lost silver mines of the Susquehannocks, I located the mine entrances for those. There was a group of people that was here literally mining silver, and that was the Susquehannocks, and wherever they were stationed throughout Pennsylvania, there were silver mines around them to this day. They were great at making something known as Indian silver, which is a super high-grade pewter, technically. But they would trade that for guns and things like that with the Dutch early on, late 1500s. But what I think we're seeing, the whole other series of tools and a ton of these beautiful small pieces that are clear. These are all aluminum oxide. They're all, for a better lack of term, corundum or sapphire. We get these little beautiful turtle pendants made. And then I was astonished. I'll put a little moisture on this. I was astonished when I found this pendant. And this pendant it's like, the part that sticks out is what you're looking at. It's a side profile of a woolly mammoth's head. The back, this green serpentine schist that this sapphire was grown out of, was then worked down into the shape of a mammoth, and it's prismatic. So when light gets on it, you can almost see it roaring. It's got two holes where the trunk, that's the trunk there. That's the mouth. It's even got a little tongue in there. It's got an eye. It's got its ear right there. So we know these people were old enough to be witnessing woolly mammoths to carve them, and it's why I really started feeling as though these were Solutrean. I found this pressure flaking point with another side relief with the part of the animal sticking up further, the background reliefed back, and you could see the mouth, the eye, the mane, and this is an ancient horse. Super important if it is a horse. Now this could just be my interpretation. I got another turtle, shaft straightener in the shape of a snapper turtle. You got the eye, the mouth, all corundum, all side profiles of animals. The thing with the horse is, the horse was extinct in North America. It was only running around North America prior to 13,000 years ago. It went extinct with all the megafauna right during the Younger Dryas, about 12,500, 13,000 years ago. That's when a comet hit the Great Ice Sheet in North America, melted everything, and put America under flames and water. The entire thing. Everything was wiped off of the face of North America. There was no more North America anymore. And this is the part that they're just starting to figure out for scientific testing and ice core samples. And I'm a big follower of, Fingerprints of the God, Graham Hancock, and Carlson, the geologist guy that works for them, Randall Carlson. I listen to a lot of their takes. I agree with the majority of it. I can't tell you how advanced or how crazy the civilizations were, but the one civilization that I'm completely perplexed on that I find in the creeks around me is this culture that was using corundum or sapphire to make points, knives, pressure flaking tools. It's hard to see, but this is literally a piece of yellow sapphire here. You can still see some patina on it. It doesn't look like much. Try to get this gem light on it for you. But you could see right into here, it's completely transparent. It's a giant, long, thin sheet of corundum, which grows in sheets, and you can really see it from the side. But artifacts get covered in this stuff called patina. You see this black stuff? I'll flip this area. This is really this white, light chert. You could see that from working and from using the tool, it was stained and black. It was probably some pitch they were using, grease, sweat, whatever. This organic material eventually mineralized into another mineral that is now sitting on top of the artifact as this coating on the one side where it was used. And these chert tools down here, which I have another whole drawer of those. Let's see, right here. These are all chert. Then we got some culture, then making just soapstone tools. Let's see, like up here. Like these are all soapstone. And then we have another group, a much older group, that was making non-composite geometric tools of various sizes out of this white fossilized coral. I'll just call it chert for lack of better word for it. It's very hard, but it's simply fossilized coral. We have a ton of coral in the area from ancient seas during the Cambriatic period. And I could show you some of that stuff in a second. I don't want to get too far off on a tangent. The chert stuff I identified as the oldest layer. The most least skill involved, and the non-composite simple hand tools look very similar to the tools that they find in Africa that are millions of years old, made by cousins of human beings, hominids that weren't quite fully human yet, more ape than human, or a bit more ape than we have in us anyway. And then these are all different types of celts, hammers, picks from different time periods. Some are for war, war clubs from the fights between the Native Americans in more recent times. We have a super old fractured axe. Now, why this is important is because in the later Stone Age, before the Mesolithic, before we were becoming more sedentary and farming, we made these fracture axes like this to cut through meat, bone, stone, anything that we needed to, these fractured hand axes, okay? As we advanced through time, we started smoothing down and polishing the axes, and this is curved downwards. This is more of a farming tool. Another more of an example of a axe here, but it's smooth, polished down. And originally they thought, when they found these over in Doggerland in Europe at crossing sites, they originally thought they were only smoothed down for ceremonial purposes. They did not think that it had any kind of advantage or made the tool more efficient. But after testing through experimental archaeology, they took fractured tools and then smooth tools, and they chopped trees down, and these were about 10 times more efficient that were smooth, less friction, easier to cut. So we could tell, oh, hey, Kitty, we're filming right now, so excuse me. Anyway, and then we have more of these like hammer type tools, even one that looks like a a ballpoint hammer for like in metalworking with a notch there for the shaft. And then we have these corundum hammers, corundum saws that are much older. This style saw and this style pick, and then these other artifacts like this celt here that is corundum. These are more in the style of Solutrean peoples. And who the Solutrean were, they came from Europe prior to the end of the last ice age. Solutrean means people that hunted seals. In Ice Age Europe, the ice sheet dropped so low it started killing off all of the horses, which is what they hunted and ate over there mainly. And once all of the food was killed off by the moving ice sheets, you pretty much had just the coastline and a bit inland, but all the food was hunted out by all the people. So they were starving and dying, and they figured, hey, let's get on our boats and go hunt some seals. And eventually they got their way over to North America. And a lot of scientists will scoff at this theory. I am a firm believer because of the tools I find made out of the sapphire type material were made by master stone workers, and they're extremely diamond shaped. As you can see, a lot of the spearheads very diamond shaped. They're super triangular and thin. They're not cored. There's no fluting. This is Solutrean. The fact is, corundum is so hard. It's several thousand times harder than steel. It is thin, and it can't be fractured. So a lot of people that criticize my stuff say, all you have is a bunch of rocks that just happen to be geometrically shaped. No. For instance, here is a corundum or sapphire knife, yellow sapphire. You see that it was pressure flaked along the edge, but it was smoothed down to make this finger knife shape. And this is a Solutrean knife design. Making these blades would be extremely tedious and take a long period of time. Another corundum knife, one cutting edge, one pressure edge. Another corundum knife, one cutting edge, one pressure edge. The corundum blades we have, or arrowheads, we have tons of them. We get this teardrop design, which the back is thin enough just to slide down the shaft, and then it's pitched forward as a broadhead. Get a ton of scrapers and knives that are ultra thin, but you can't break them with your hand. A lot of these are drill bits for fixed drilling. We get a ton of, interestingly enough, stone fish hooks and barbs for atlatls. Here's another two pieces or two components of an atlatl. These would be the counterweights or mantle stones that would be placed on the bottom of the atlatl. So we see that. We see a lot of this type of stuff. Types of atlatl spurs, these little tiny picks and pokers and sewing type tools and little saws. Another poker right here. You can see all the patina on that still and that poking end right there. These are heat treated. They're extra hard. That's a Solutrean style knife. Or pressure flaking type tool for applying pressure to break off, sharpened edges on some other types of stone. So the Solutrean people, about 20,000 to 17,000 years ago. The chert tools I showed you in the bottom, conservatively 60,000 years ago. And that's where, if you've seen my most popular video, the North American Neanderthals, that's where this whole theory came from. I believe it was probably Denisovans, more so than Neanderthals, but there was a people here 60 to 100,000 years ago making things. And one of my real good tools that is that old is at a friend's house right now, because we artifact hunt together, me and my friend. And some of the collection, some of them are her finds, but all from the same area. Here you go. Here's an obsidian knife blade with the finger grips cut out. You can see that's percussioned and pressure flaked along the edges. Got two cutting sides. I found this at a butcher's site. Along with this fossilized Folsom style looking type spearhead. This was heat treated. It's so old that the material underneath of it has been encrusted in essentially like an aluminum schist type material. I think grew off of whatever is underneath, because this stuff's very, very hard. It's semi-magnetic. It has a lot of iron in it. It could just been shipped with a lot of metal content that they heated up. But this is flaked along the edges. The bottom shoulder broke. It had a tooth design, and then it is fluted up the middle here on both sides. And then there are the edges that come down. Imagine where my finger is where it's fluted. That's where it is fluted. It's almost fluted all the way up to that point. And you're looking at a much larger spearhead, one that would probably have been flung with an atlatl, and one that would have probably taken down a megafauna. So you're looking at more ancient tools than the Solutreans. And the Solutreans made really thin stuff. Like here's a piece of corundum that was roughly worked into a Solutrean preform for a long spear tip, and it wasn't finished. And we get tons of preforms. There's preforms everywhere. And like, here's some more Solutrean style tools. You see this right here, this obsidian scalpel blade. Okay. Another scalpel. Look at this in the back here. Look at how that's worked. Super sharp scalpel design. You get these single shouldered blades or points as a very Solutrean design. Okay. More cutting tools, Solutrean looking designs. More hooks back there, all very Solutrean, but found right in northeast Pennsylvania in layers that predate the 13,000 year mark. Now, I got to be honest, I mean, most of my artifacts come from alluvial deposits where they're legal to find things and take them. So there's no real context. Meandering creeks flip over the next layer, put it on top. You don't know when that layer is from. You can only kind of match artifacts by their design, how they look, how they're made. For instance, this is another Celt or axe blade. Look at how identical this looks to a modern metal hatchet that we would use the blade of. I don't know who designed these. These are earlier. These were found in conjunction with these smoothened out Mesolithic looking tools on a layer on top of this fracture tool. So some of the stuff can be dated, and you got more of a half fractured design here. You've got this large cleaver, and it's stained. This is most likely used for agriculture. It looks like it was used to cut down food, stalks of plants. It could have been used as a war weapon. Some of these are more clearly for war club, tomahawks. Some of these are spiritual. This is a war club. See how heavy that is? The only thing that's going to be used for is bopping someone over the head or throwing it at someone, smacking them with it. But we also have a series of what I call ornamental or spiritual or ceremonial Celts and axe heads. And we find these always in pairs of 2 or 3. For instance, like after a rainstorm, this fell out of a niche under an ancient tree. This magnetic hammer, it's magnetite or some weird meteoritic material. This quartzite blade that is fluted and edge worked. And then this straight edge triangular quartzite gouge type tool. These are all found. These are paired together and left. Same thing with these beautiful hammerstone and beautiful serpentine Celt. Both left ornamentally at one spot. Same thing with the effigy side piece of a turtle and another turtle here made out of this ruby containing ore, okay? And left, all right? Always left in pairs. This is clearly a war Celt because it's still painted. Red, black, white. You can still see the pigment outlining this Celt, this war Celt. These were found as together. This planing tool and this crazy green serpentine Celt were found together. So we can draw some conclusions to that. Is it some kind of ceremonial or spiritual thing? From there, that's about all we can say. We don't have a time machine. And this is where archaeology draws more from speculation than anything. It's more opinion. It's more speculation. And it's only as good as the timeline that it sits upon. And the issue is most of our timelines are whack because they won't even dig in North America down past 13,000 years to kind of start seeing what was here before that. There's going to be a dead period of time there, black layer of soil, before everything becomes alive again, because that's where that great disaster hit. This is neat. Have you ever find an artifact with these shallow like holes in it? It's a nutting stone. It would hold a nut and smack the top and crack the nut open. It's a nutting stone. Some of these are weapons of war. These are all found together. These 4 artifacts, okay, You have this triangular gouge-like tool for sharpening, filing things. You have a kelp here, probably for throwing or striking somebody with. This is probably more for woodworking here, for warfare. And you know, this large non-composite handle hammer made out of that schist that can be cut in both directions. And then this was heated, and you can even see some of the garnets and stuff popping out of the Swissic and schist here. You can feel the power and energy in that when you hold it. You just feel like it can just damage something. This was not found in a pair, but I found this red jasper kelp in the penny pack. And like I said, the majority of everything I showed you so far was penny pack, except for these tools down in the corner here and these ones up here. Mostly everything else is penny pack in nature. But I don't know who was working with the real old stuff. That's the mystery. The newer warfare, war-oriented instruments are more from modern times. You know, you're looking on the AD side of things, probably between 500 and 1700s, where there's just a ton of warfare between Native American tribes and between Europeans and Native Americans and between whoever else got here. Medieval times or the Dark Ages is a coin flip. From like when Rome fell in the 400s, from year 500 to year 1000 is just a mystery in history. It's a gap. We don't have any writing. The bubonic plague hit then. There was a volcanic winter that blacked out the sky for 10 years. So the majority of people that could read and write and that were educated to leave the history were dead. Because like 78% of the population, known population in the old world in Europe at the time had died. And I don't think the plague ever reached North America, but the volcanic winter definitely did. And the volcano that caused that might have even been in South America, if it was a volcano that caused that blackout for that period of time. It pretty much killed all the crops. There was another incident like this that might have caused the collapse of the Bronze Age civilization as well. But I digress a bit. Anyways, I just wanted to get into a little bit more of the collection, a little broad overview of some of my theories pertaining to this. If you find any of it interesting and want to see more about the collection, there's hundreds of videos up on my channel. Check them out. Check out some of my music, my poetry, some of the little short stories about anthropological topics like folklore and myths. Just check out the channel. It's a chill place, kind of free of politics, free of hate, and just a place where it's a bastion of, I hope, free speech and free thought. I don't mind criticism. I have thick skin. I don't care about what people tell me in my comments. I've heard it all since I've done this. I've been called a lot of things. One thing I am not a Zionist. I'm not a racist. I'm not trying to claim who got to America first or anything, because guess what? 17,000 years ago, the person that America is named after didn't even exist and wouldn't exist for another 18,000 years, 19,000 years. So, like, these people that we're talking about weren't even quite human as we know it. The Solutreans weren't entirely biologically human. So they were a lot closer to us probably than Neanderthal was. The Denisovans aren't human. They're a cousin. They're a hominid. But I will say that the period of time, the older period of time, the findings, the archaeology that is found reflects a period of peaceful time. It doesn't seem like there was conflict or warfare going on, because these people had time to sit down and polish this sapphire out into tools. And I wanted to find a little more evidence of them using this technique. The only way you can shape the corundum and sapphire is with sand, water, and another abrasive material. So let's look for the tools they use to maybe smooth them, maybe find some smooth or worked pieces. Here's a beautiful example of a piece of worked corundum where they smoothed out the entire thing, got all the schist off of it, got it into its square shape, cleaned, ready, completely flattened on both sides, worked down, obviously worked and smoothed out, and then just stopped. And here's another one. They didn't finish working on it. Maybe it was going to be a pendant or another tool. This stuff takes forever to work with. Like to cut this shape out in the corundum, it would have had to have been polished and cut and heat maybe to fracture it when you got close to the place you need it where it to break. But I could show you the tools and stuff that these groups of people would use. A ton of files. We find these files everywhere, and they're, again, this super abrasive material. We find things like this. This literally had a rope tied around the top, this super abrasive granite or quartzite material. Look what you got here. You know, you put some sand on there, you put the stone on there, use these smaller files to get into the areas. This could all be accomplished. Got more smaller files of this abrasive material, and we find a lot of these filing type tools. And like I said, when I go to these places, and you know, there's dump trucks full of this stuff. It's not like there's one or two artifacts. They're everywhere. I take back certain things or examples or patterns that I find. And we also, as I've explained before with the unique geology, if we go back like 60, 100, some million, 160, I forget the exact million years ago, into the Cambriatic period where there are shallow oceans all over. I live up in the hills, highest point in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. My hills today were coral reefs of that ocean millions of years ago. So we find tons of this in our hills. Fossilized coral. Millions of years old, an animal fossilized. It's all the polyps. Different type of coral there. And then one time, this was in my collection for a while, I thought this was like an unfinished arrowhead, stemmed arrowhead. And I just couldn't figure out how it was worked. I kept seeing these weird patterns. And then I cleaned it and got it into the light. This is a fossilized fish. You see its side fin there, its eye. And this is similar species to like a coelacanth. It could have possibly been a smaller type of anglerfish. An ancient fish. And this was taken because I thought it was a hammer or pick of some sort, but this is an ancient bird. Here's its beak. There's the remnants of its organs and its eye fossilized in there. Its beak comes down. It probably died in the mud. It was covered up, and it forms a mold, and then that gets filled in with other material like soapstone, lime, and forms a concrete in there, and it fossilizes the outline of the dead bird. You know, so kind of really, really neat to find a fish in the coral reef and the bird. And this is all southeastern Pennsylvania. This is all Pennypack or around that area anyway. But and I'll take stuff like this, like we see, okay, well, why did I take this? Look at this real shiny part right there. We could see that literally an arrowhead or tool was flaked out of this. And this is a corundum. This isn't white corundum. This is more, this is an obsidian type material here. It's volcanic. So, some evidence of some of the tools used to work this stuff into shape. Well, anyways, I know this one went a little bit long, and I like to ramble on, and there's really no kind of real flow to things. So, what I can say is, if you're interested in this stuff, subscribe. I post videos 2 to 4 times a month. Sometimes there's songs, sometimes there are videos about this type of stuff, sometimes they're just discussions surrounding philosophy type topics. If you like any of it, look through it. I have a lot of unique original music too. I'm so happy if you found the channel. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. If you want a chance still to win that sapphire, you have to like, comment, and you don't have to like, but you have to comment to one of those 4 videos that are posted before Saturday, July 8th, 2023 at noon to be eligible and entered into that contest. So there's still time. I think some people are confused, thinking once 500 hit, you weren't eligible anymore to enter. Let's just say I extended it a little bit. I got a ton of subscribers generated from it, but not a ton of comments, and that's the names that are going into a hat. So I want that to build up a little bit more, and the cutoff will be Saturday, and I'll post a video around 9 p.m. Saturday night, 9 to 10 p.m. Keep an eye out, and I will pull the name of the winner out of the hat. And that winner will have a week to get back to me, and I will give you a way to reach out and contact me. And all I'll need is an address. It'll be free shipping. Just wait a little bit and wait for your free gift to come. One part of that free gift is that large yellow 80-some carat sapphire, rough sapphire. It's got a little bit of value to it too. But anyways, I just want to say I love you all, to stay safe. If you find this stuff interesting, please subscribe, comment, reach out. I don't get back to everybody all the time. This is an unfunded channel, and I'm scraping by, working several jobs to get through paying all the bills. So this is kind of just my hobby that I kind of wanted to branch out and maybe find connections between collections and really show that there was some vast group of people all over North America prior to 13,000 years, and they were making all kinds of shit, and we're just too ignorant or trying to protect paradigms to the point where we have not investigated this further. And that's my hope. And it's starting to. The paradigm of Clovis first is slowly being killed off. They found a woolly mammoth kill site out near San Diego years and years ago. It was finally published, where they found a femur stuck upright, where they found stone tools left behind with crushed woolly mammoth femurs where the marrow was extracted. All this was tested, proven by some of the most renowned archaeologists that look upon this stuff in North America. And that proves that there were humans or some form of human 160,000 years ago in North America. And we're saying no one was here before 13,000 years. So we're talking about a 147,000 year gap in our understanding of what happened on one of the largest continents on Earth. This is not just a story of America. This is a story of all humanity. What if humanity started here and was wiped out completely? What if the Africa hypothesis is wrong? What if not all humans migrated from one area? What if parallel groups spread out? What if the Denisovans were the Neanderthals of North America and Siberia? I'm not doubting that people came over on the land bridge. I just think people crossed the Atlantic Ocean during the last ice age. And I want to tell you how easy it would be. The oceans were so much lower during the last ice age because there's more ice, and the amount of water on Earth is relative. If there's more ice, there's less water. So the ice caps were 2 miles thick, and the north ice cap ended in northwest Pennsylvania. It came all the way halfway down the state of PA. So literally, where I live in southeastern Pennsylvania was one of the first inhabitable areas after the ice in North America, where there were plenty of animals, food to eat, and it would have been like heaven if they made it over from Europe, where all the food was being killed off. Practicality-wise, even if you got in a small boat made of animal hide, it would only take 4 weeks to cross the ocean, just if you ice hopped and let the Gulf Current, like a giant rotary belt, pull you across the Atlantic. And it would dump you off at its upward point right in the Pennsylvania area as far as latitude and longitude is concerned. Now, if you got off of that ice on the return or on its lower part of its circle in the current, you would be getting off in South Carolina, Virginia, North Carolina, that whole area. So I expect this stuff's all the way up and down the East Coast, up as far north as Midwest PA, and it probably stops because the ice was there. So that's my thought process on the whole thing. You would only need to kill one seal in that 4-week period of time to get a group of like 18 to 20 people across. It'd be enough sustenance. Just one seal would be more than enough for a month of travel. So if you don't think they got across, I know they did, because I'm looking at their shit right here, and it's all over the place in Pennsylvania. Anyways, love y'all. Please subscribe. Peace.